I know, Craig, you had a really impressive study method involving maps that helped you succeed in D3. And that's always the unit that people are the most nervous about. And so could you talk a little bit about your approach to your theory studies and how it evolved over time?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, as I mentioned in my intro, I started out in the Master Somm track, thanks to the documentary Somm. If you saw it, which I'm sure some of you have, you know all about note cards, and maybe you've been using them already for your studies to this point. That worked really well for me in Master Somm introductory and certified levels because those are not essay tests. But quickly, when I transitioned to WSET in level three and then in the D1 and D2 exam, I realized that was probably not going to be a recipe for success, specifically in D3. You know, with the pressure cooker, if you're already in the program somewhere or if you're about to enter it, you'll find out that the test is not designed for you to finish early and that you have to be able to pull together a lot of information about climate, geography, soil, viticulture, winemaking pretty quickly. And you know, note cards themselves and even just a map on its own are pretty what I like to call like one dimensional. It's one fact, and you've got to file away that one fact in your head and be able to recall it. And then for the the D3 exam, you have to piece together a bunch of individual facts that you've stored away. So you're learning things in isolation. So for D3, I pivoted to my version of what a map is that Noel is referring to as a study guide. So what does it look like? So I'm going to ask everyone to kind of visualize. You take an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. You go to the online book you get in the diploma program. You take a snippet application on your computer. You grab the map of, let's just say, Spain, and you clip that picture and you paste it into a Word document, piece of paper, Word document page. And you put it kind of not too small to where you can't read it, but you make it small enough that when you put it in the center, so it creates you a lot of border that you can leverage. And why do you want a lot of border? Because if you're dealing with, let's say, the country of Spain, the entire country, from the northwest to the southeast, there's wine regions all over. So the more that you can write notes and draw arrows, the more that things will come together. So that's what it will look like. What the process is, basically you have to figure out what information, what facts are going to be really important for you in the program, and we'll get to a little bit of that later on. And then you're going to create, by filling it in, something that you can hopefully, as you're studying, create that mental visualization so that when you think back to Spain, that you recall the map and you recall maybe what you wrote in those areas. So you can see appellations in relation to each other. You can see where is Galicia in relation to an ocean or a mountain, or are there rivers that run through there are going to be important for you. And then you're writing down, things at the country level. So you'll write down things about the wine law, how the AOCs are structured, what's the general climate of a country. And then you'll dive down a level and you'll write notes about, Galicia. And, again, what's specific to Galicia? What varietals do they grow there? What DOs are in Galicia? What are the aging requirements specifically for that? So the paper becomes really full, and you have to be able to write legibly. And as Noelle noted when I showed it to her, you have to write very neatly in a very small font size. But when you have all that information kind of in one spot, you can really study a country all with one piece of paper. You may have to switch over to the backside, but you've got one piece of paper that has all the kind of key facts that you can reference, and you're thinking about, as you're reading it, you're thinking about all those features like climate, like geography, like varietals, like winemaking. So you kind of change yourself from that one-dimensional, I have a flashcard, and now I know that Galicia is in the northwest of Spain, but now you're also incorporating into that the climate, the varietals, the winemaking practices. So that's how I used the maps for that, but that wasn't necessarily as important for D4 and D5. And so for D5 specifically and D4 to some extent, I did use flowcharts. I'm a CPA, so I'm a little bit dorky that way. And if you done D5 or you will take D5, you're going to learn that there's so many fortified wines, and some of them are just branches. They all start the same way, then they branch off. If you're going to be a biologically aged or oxidative wine, and then in biological, there's other choices you can make. So it's a lot of information in just a book. But when I created a flow chart, it really helped me kind of capture the winemaking decisions that happen for each of those specific wines in a way that I could follow it through.